Are you in the process of editing your novel or short story? If you're unsure when it's time to stop editing, then I'm here to help. Because today, we're discussing how to know when to stop editing your story. Let's get started! Hey guys, Nour here, and welcome back to my channel. For those visiting for the first time, hello! I'm the fantasy author of the novel Divinity Falling. Be sure to subscribe for weekly writing advice videos. So really quick, I just want to mention that I'm hosting a contest on Patreon next month, and the winner of the contest will receive a signed copy of my book Divinity Falling, as well as a t-shirt from my merch store. I'm doing this to celebrate reaching my first Patreon goal of $150 a month. So if you would like to participate in the contest and support me, be sure to check out my Patreon. And in a few weeks, I plan on doing a book analysis video where I talk about a book that I've read and analyze it from the perspective of a writer. And I'll be sharing the journey of how that's going over on Patreon as well. So if you would like to see some of the behind the scenes, check it out. So let's talk about editing. Is over-editing bad for your writing? Well, the answer is yes. And there are several reasons. The first is that you end up losing sight of your story. You started writing because you had this passion for the story, but the more you edit, the more you forget what this passion is, and the more your story changes. And readers can pick up on that. They know when the story is no longer a passion project. Another reason is that you start ruining your story's voice and everything ends up reading robotically. It's no longer your voice. Instead, it's just very much your editor's voice or your inner critic telling you, I need to change everything. And if your inner critic is involved, then the story won't be good because it will simply not sound like your story. And not to mention, you won't improve your writing if you stay stuck on the same story forever. You have to continuously be writing, otherwise you're not going to improve. So if you're editing one story for a long time, you're not writing, and therefore you're not improving. So how can you know when it's time to stop editing your story? Number one, when you've gone through several rounds of editing and tackled major flaws. I'm talking you fixed all the grammar, you made sure the story has a good narrative arc with beginning, middle, and end, you paid attention to character development, and you fixed any info dumping. At this point, you've done all you could. And usually, if you've done all this, that means you've gone through your story multiple times. So don't drive yourself crazy and keep editing. Instead, just pass the story on to beta readers and see what they have to say. Or send it to a trusted friend. Basically, get somebody's feedback but stop editing. Number two, when the changes you're making no longer make sense. This should always be a red flag to you. If you're editing and the edits you're making no longer make sense, stop editing. You should never edit your story just for the sake of making changes. If you do that, you'll remove the heart and soul of your story. Don't mess with that. Only edit the parts that need fixing, like any plot holes you find in the story or anything clunky that doesn't really make sense. Number three, you've spent more time editing than writing. This is also a red flag. Don't get me wrong, editing is essential. But if you spent 3 months writing the story and a year editing it, you need to stop. At this point, either your story is the best it can be and you need to just send it out into the world, or it's beyond repair and you need to move on to a different project. Well, either way, you should probably start another project. You shouldn't be stuck on a single story for years. You don't improve your craft that way. And number four, you're too close to the story that you don't know what's working and not working anymore. This is similar to some of my earlier points. But basically, if you just can't tell what's wrong with your story anymore, don't make any changes. Hand it off to beta readers or even an editor. Don't mess with your story if you don't understand the areas that need work, because you'll end up doing more damage than good. So that's all I have for you today. I'd love to know, do you dread the editing process? And if so, which parts overwhelm you? Let me know in the comments. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe because I put out weekly writing advice videos that will take your story to the next level. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media to see what I'm up to from day to day and to chat with me. And before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sarah Frayne, Alan J. Early, Noah Kovanti, and Rolanda Jabri from my shout outs here over on Patreon, as well as all my amazing patrons. Thank you all so much for your support. I really appreciate you. And remember, Nour for president!